Hi, my name is Caleb Dotson, and I'm a senior at WKU majoring in manufacturing engineering technology. I was born in Bowling Green, but grew up on a farm out in Woodburn. My parents had a farm on one side of the road, my grandfather had one on the other side. So I spent a lot of time growing up out on the farm and working on things. Um, my grandfather actually used to teach ag mechanics at Western. So growing up, he always had projects, mostly antique tractors and that sort of thing. So by the time I was 6 or 7, I was out in the shops helping him work and helping him rebuild things, and uh, just grew up working like that. And we wound up actually restoring a 1952 Minneapolis Moline RTI, and that became the one I got to drive and work with and that sort of thing. And I did one for my little brother. There was a 1940s Case DI, meant to be an industrial tractor, and really enjoyed getting to work with those, and had a lot of fun doing it, and had a lot of fun getting to use them later. And in the course of working on those and family kind of hearing of that and things, my uncle came to me and gave me a 1970 or a John Deere 70 two-cylinder tractor, and worked on it, got it running really well. It wasn't a pretty tractor, but it ran great. And actually went and traded it for a Jeep Kaiser M715. It was an old military truck that they made between 1967 and 1969. And they made about 30,000 of them, and they're just built as extremely heavy trucks. And the one I picked up actually only had 26,000 miles on it. From the military, Hardin County Rescue had bought that truck to use as a rescue truck to go out through the woods and do water rescues and fight brush fires and that sort of thing. And then the person I bought it from had bought it from them. But when I got it, it needed a ton of work. There wasn't really any floor pan left to it. Didn't run. We just rolled it up on a trailer and drug it out of there. So once we got it back, we had to cut floor pans out, and we actually built floor pans for it. Had to go through the whole brake system because none of it worked. Went through the carburetor and then the fuel system. Had to do a new fuel tank and pretty much all new lines and that sort of thing. Had to do tires. Had to do a lot of wiring work, which was a little bit of a trick since it was a 24-volt truck originally. So any accessories you wanted to add or anything you had to buy either had to be 24 volt or needed to be wired as 12 volt. So it made the whole truck just a little bit tricky to mess with. We also had to do a lot of cooling system work and just pretty much everything. And in doing that truck, it helped me learn to not necessarily go cheap with things, but what's the cheapest way I can get this done and make it work as good as it did. And the brakes are an example of that. The master cylinder out of that truck that was bad, we actually replaced it with one out of a Mustang 2, mostly because that one was $40 and an original replacement was well over 200. The same with the cooling system. The radiator was actually meant for a big block Chevy, but since it was cheaper than the one that came in it and cheaper than I could get, it was the right one, and got it drivable and really enjoyed driving it. And the only trick was it went about 45 miles an hour, and that was about it. It'd go up a mountain at 40, but that was it. So I had started to look for something different, something a little more drivable up and down the road, and wound up trading it for a 68 F100 four-wheel drive. And that was originally a forest truck. And since it was a forestry truck originally and meant for the people to be out in the woods working, it was factory power steering, factory power brakes, and factory four-wheel drive, which back in 1968, there weren't many trucks like that. I believe that year they made less than 5,000 just in four-wheel drive, not even considering the steering and brakes. Now, mind you, it needed work too. I wound up doing hubs and bearings on it, starter, some interior panels, and things like that. But for the most part, it was a great running truck, and really enjoyed working on it as well. But in doing all this work, it allowed me to work for other people doing the same things I had done on my vehicles. I happened to know a guy that had another M715, a Jeep like that. and got to do a lot of work for him, doing things that I had done on mine, fixing the same things that took me 3 or 4 weeks to figure out the first time around were a day or two job now that I finally knew what I was doing. And in having that Ford, I've gotten to work on some 70s Broncos and things like that are very similar and have similar issues and were much easier to fix once I had a chance to tear something apart like that. As well as gotten to work on some old Jeep CJs and even the occasional Thunderbird. But one thing that I'm kind of known for is I'm willing to fix anything. I might not know how to do it at first, and I might not get it right the first time, but we'll get it figured out one way or another. And while this might not seem like a ton of a hobby, it seems more like work. I've really enjoyed being able to work on vehicles, work on cars, work on trucks, even tractors, and be able to have that mechanic background a little bit. And even from being as a kid, I enjoyed just pulling stuff apart and putting it back together and seeing where it could be better. And I believe that's kind of part of the reason I've enjoyed the manufacturing engineering, because you're just finding a problem and a better way to come around it and make everything work better and quicker and smoother. But my name's Caleb Dotson, and that's pretty much all there is to know about me.